It's one of the most famous conspiracy theories of all time. What if the 1969 moon landing was a hoax? Was the footage we saw on TV really filmed in a secret Hollywood studio? And if so, why would the US government fake such a monumental event? Let's dive into this conspiracy and explore what might happen if the moon landing was indeed a fabrication. Let's begin by asking, why would the moon landing be faked in the first place? At the height of the Cold War, the space race between the United States and the Soviet Union was in full swing. Both nations were vying for global supremacy, not just militarily, but technologically. Winning the race to the moon was seen as the ultimate sign of dominance, a way to prove that the US was the most advanced nation in the world. Some conspiracy theorists argue that when it looked like the US might lose the race, they faked the landing to claim victory over the Soviet Union. But what evidence do they point to? One of the most popular claims is that the famous footage of Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin on the moon was filmed on a soundstage. Skeptics argue that the shadows in the footage don't match up, suggesting the lighting could only have come from studio lights, not the sun. Others point out the American flag appearing to wave in the wind, even though there's no atmosphere on the moon. Another piece of evidence is the Van Allen radiation belt. Some theorists argue that no human could have survived passing through this belt due to the intense levels of radiation. They believe NASA would have had to develop advanced technology to protect astronauts, which didn't exist at the time. According to this theory, instead of risking lives, NASA faked the moon landing to avoid a potential catastrophe. So, what would happen if this conspiracy turned out to be true? What if the world discovered the moon landing was indeed faked? The immediate reaction would be utter shock. The moon landing is one of the most celebrated achievements in human history. The moment Neil Armstrong stepped onto the moon and uttered, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind," became an iconic symbol of human progress. If it were revealed that the event never actually happened, the public's faith in government and science would be shaken to its core. Trust in NASA and the US government would collapse. People would question everything. If they lied about the moon landing, what else have they lied about? Was the space shuttle program real? Are the photos of Mars fake too? The ripple effects would be felt across every institution, from politics to education. Students who learned about space exploration in school would suddenly be faced with the realization that the most important lesson they were taught was a lie. Beyond the loss of trust, the political consequences would be massive. The moon landing wasn't just an American achievement, it was a global event. Other countries would demand answers. The Soviet Union, which had its own space program at the time, might claim they knew all along but chose not to expose the hoax to avoid political fallout. Or worse, they might have been complicit, part of a larger conspiracy to control the narrative during the Cold War. Meanwhile, other space agencies, like the European Space Agency or China's CNSA, would find themselves in a position of power. With the US credibility in space exploration destroyed, these agencies could lead the charge in future missions to the moon or Mars, cementing their dominance in space technology. Let's not forget the scientific community. If the moon landing was fake, it would discredit thousands of scientists, engineers, and astronauts who worked on the Apollo missions. The entire field of space exploration would be under scrutiny, with researchers and experts struggling to restore faith in their work. Scientific advancements tied to space exploration, such as satellite technology, GPS, and weather forecasting, could face a crisis of credibility. People might start questioning whether space even exists as we know it. Now, imagine the effects on pop culture. Movies, books, and documentaries celebrating the moon landing would suddenly feel hollow. Generations of people who grew up idolizing astronauts like Neil Armstrong would have to come to terms with the fact that their heroes never actually went to the moon. Space-themed films like Apollo 13 or The Right Stuff would be viewed with suspicion, and space exploration might lose its romantic allure in the eyes of the public. But would we stop exploring space? Would future missions to the moon or Mars be cancelled? Possibly not. Even if the moon landing was faked, humanity's curiosity about space remains. We'd still want to explore the stars and push the boundaries of our knowledge. But future missions would be under intense scrutiny. Every detail, every piece of footage, every sample collected would be dissected and analyzed by skeptics determined to uncover another potential hoax. In the end, if the moon landing was faked, The consequences for society, science, and politics would be devastating. We'd be forced to reevaluate everything we know about space exploration, and trust in government institutions would be shattered. But perhaps the most troubling part of all is that the dream of reaching the stars, a dream that united humanity, would be tarnished, leaving us to wonder, can we ever believe in anything again?